Hello and welcome to the Family Summer Camp Google Forms and Google Sheets project. Now, I wanted to make sure at the start, if you're not interested in like a summer camp and that's not applicable to what your instance is, this build can be used for a lot of different things, like inventory, like a tech help desk. You might have to switch around some of the things, of course, the questions, but it has a lot of different very helpful ways to be able to put a Google form out, be able to have multiple sections that you continue on if there's more entries or not, and then being able to end it. And it gives ease of use to whoever is filling out the form. Now on the back end, if the questions all line up, this is a great way to be able to let them just fill it out one time and then let this formula do all of the formatting for you to put it like they're filling it out multiple times. And what I mean by that is the typical way I've seen it, and it's kind of frustrating as a parent or someone filling it out, is that if you have to fill it out like 6 times and there's no way, you have to fill out all that information, like what's your name, what's as the guardian, what are you filling for, what location, what's this, and all of that can be streamlined. You don't have to fill it out every time, but you'd fill that out, and then in this example you'd put the first student in, hit submit, and say, do you want to fill it out for another student? And then you have to push yes, and then fill out all of your parent information again, and then go to the second student and then say you need another, and you just have to do it over and over again. Okay, it's time consuming for the user. Doing it that way is easier, however, for the organization because it's all in the same columns in the Google Sheet. But this is a way to give an ease to both the user filling it out as well as the organization that's giving the form and trying to collect that information. So before we even get started, I just wanted to show you quickly how Google Forms works and how it stores it. Hopefully I'm small and on your screen, but this is what the Google Sheets looks like when you submit a form. So it'll have the timestamp of whoever filled it out. It might have the information like the email if you have that checked off, but always a timestamp, and then it'll just order it by the questions. It doesn't matter if you're hoping for the questions to all line up, like for example here, student 1 name and then student 2 or student 3, and you want those all to be in the same column. Regardless of that, all questions will be their own data field or column in this case, and each row represents the response. So the first family that responds, the second family, the third, and so on. And so if you're trying to build this for like multiple entries, what's going to happen is that you're going to have this data that's not all in the same exact columns. What you're seeing here is me attempting to color code this a bit without any explanation. So hopefully you can kind of see it. But in this case, this is kind of just like the parent guardian information that we're trying to make it so they don't have to fill it out over and over again. Here, I colored each color of the rainbow. And so it's like student 1 is red, student 2 is orange, yellow's 3, 4, 5, 6. And what happens is if you have this stacked up here, and we're talking about student names, again, if you're doing it with inventory, it'll look a little different, but each one represents a section. So this is the student 1 section, and parents might have one student and they say, nope, I'm done, and then hit submit. Another family might say, no, I have 6 students, so I'm going to fill it out for 6 and then hit submit. Sometimes 2, 1, 3, 4, 5. Any sort of thing. And so you can kind of see how this is going to be tricky for the organization to try to, stack this up all into one column. Because ideally we would just have, the parent guardian information and then all of the student information in these all, matching the first names and the last names and whatever questions you have. So instead of doing it for this very large amount, I'm just going to take some of it off, and we'll show you what this is going to look like as a result with the formula we'll build, as well as just this project if you start it and complete it. So let's say that we have these, 6 entries, and we want to stack them all up. We want to make sure we always have the parent guardian information, but then we want all the student information to line up, like all of the students' first names, all the students' last names, all the students' grades and whatever the questions are. So this is what that data will look like once when we have it put in a meaningful and helpful way, because we can run calculations, you can make graphs, you can do pivot tables and all sorts of different things when it's like this. It would be a lot harder on this end because you would only, if you use this one, it would just be about the student ones. And then if you use this range, it would be about students twos. And so each one, you're just going to have different data, and it would be hard and messy to try to do something with that. So in this, it's just going to switch it from each of them being student 1, 2, 3, 6 into student names, first names, student last names, the grades. And how this works is that the first family just had 1, so it would just be the 1 entry and it would be done. Family 2 in this example had 6 students they filled it out for. And so all of this is actually going to be the identical parent-guardian information, while this will all be unique in the student 1, the student 2, 3, 4, 5, then 6. And then again, family 3 has just a couple of responses, 1 student they're filling it out, and so on. But now you'd be able to run like how many in this grade, like how many students signed up, and you could easily pull that information with charts or however you want to have that grouped in. And so this is very, very useful for those filling or getting the form responses back, because it'll clean it up. It'll let you perform calculations a lot faster than if it's in this like very long, like intense formatted way. And so it's a lot of information just to try to explain what we're doing in this project, but I can guarantee if you've been tasked with doing a form like this, you'll understand how useful and how helpful this is versus copying and pasting it and trying to make that and spending like hours trying to get this in a clean, meaningful way. So all that to say, this is like the longest introduction I've done. It'll be the longest project too, but hopefully in your case, if you're here, you'll find this useful. So we'll start by creating the Google form, and then we'll see how that looks in the sheet, and then we'll make it by using a formula, including the array formulas, some arrays, and the query function in order to stack the data up like this. So thank you for starting and watching to this introduction, and let's jump on in to making this family survey.
Hey, and welcome to my screen. Here I've opened up a blank Google form. If you haven't done that or have never, you can just look up Google form and it'll take you there. You do need, of course, a Google account in order to create one of these, but go ahead and do that. You can start a new one, or if you've already kind of started one, you can do that too. So first off, we can just name this and kind of get some stuff. So we'll just call this the Family Summer Camp Application. And you can do a description, like fill this out for our summer camp program. Now, it already by default does email, valid email. You can, of course, change the setting. If you push it, it goes from the question tab to the settings, and then it'll allow you to do a couple of different things. So in collect email, you can do response input, verified, or don't collect. Verified means that it has to be a Google account. So that will restrict it in that sense, but will make it a lot more, it'll ensure it's a real one versus responder input. You can put any email here, like totally real email at realemail.com. Even though that's not a real one, it would still take it. So whatever makes sense for what you're making it, generally do it there. Doesn't require sign in, and I'm not requiring one response only. Let's see, form defaults, responder input, it's kind of the same. This is just showing like when you make forms, what should it normally do. You can also do some presentation. Progress bar I don't want to do just in case they're only doing 1 versus 6 students. Afterwards, a confirmation message you can add. I generally do something like, thanks for filling this out. a copy will be sent to the email you wrote. Please check your junk and spam in case it was filtered. Save, and then you can show the link. I do want that in case. View result summary. We don't want that because we don't want them to see other, like the summary of what did other people say. It's not like exactly what they say, but it would be like, A, B, C, D, who put that, and we don't need that. And then let's see, show progress, confirmation. All that looks good. Disable, we don't need to disable that. And then send a response always. So then it'll always send, and then that message makes more sense. Going back to this, we can customize it. So here, if you want just the colors there, I have an image, so you can do some stock ones that Google has, or you can upload one. So for this one, I'll go ahead and do that. It'll then, when it uploads, kind of change the color scheme, which is fun. So I might do like I like greens. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Anyway, you can play around with those more if you want. So now that we have this first kind of section here. I'm going to go ahead and put another section in, just so like the first one is email, and then after this section, go to there. So again, we're going to be using sections within this one. You could combine section 2 here with 1, which is the parent guardian information, but I'm just going to have them be separate, so it's kind of like email and then going into this. And in this section, you can optionally have that, so please fill this out for the parent guardian information. And in that, you can also like bold or underline things just to make it clear. So next, we're going to do like a first name, parent guardian first name. And you can see it actually automatically switched to that. That might be 2. Short answer is what I want. I do want this required, meaning they have to fill this out. You don't want blank ones there. Last name. So I just copied it, and that's all I need. Let's do address. I do want that there. And then let's just say phone number is the last one. Now for this one, I am going to actually add something else called response validation. So there's quite a few things you can do with this, and I'm not going to get into it too much, but there's a lot of stuff, like you could probably find something for the address too. So you could just make it number, and it has to be a number. I'm going to actually do something called a regular expression matches this pattern, and so I'm just going to do the caret symbol, which is on my keyboard on the 6, and then using brackets 0 through 9, saying, 0 through 9, saying that it has to be a character, which is a number, 0 up to 9, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which could be in the phone number. I want 10 digits. And then custom error text is numbers only, 10 digits. And if I do something like that, I would put a description saying something like, please type 10-digit phone number. Format is numbers only. No, numbers only. No special characters or spaces. And then you can push enter and then make a new line. Example, it'd be like 111 222 3323. Bold that just so they're aware. And again, if they put something else other than a number, then this will display. So hopefully between the two, they'll figure out just numbers. That just allows you in the other side in Google Sheets to format it as you want, versus you get a lot of different formatting with numbers. So in this with the address, the generally best if you actually really need an address is probably doing like the street as a separate one, and then the city as one, and the all of those. It's just easier to that address information together rather than splitting it up can be tricky because streets can have one or two or three or more names, and sometimes they forget the city or they forget the state or a bunch of different things. So usually having more on this, but for this example this will be enough, and we'll go from there. So next thing is add a section, and this is going to be the student section. So student 1. As mentioned, we're going to try to do this with 6 students. So what I usually do is make it as easy as it is to duplicate the section. What I mean by that is I'm just going to say student 1 only here as the header. You could put like student 1 with all the questions, and then you just every time for you duplicate it, you'd have to switch, student 2 in all the spots. So, again, it might be best for your instance to do it that way. It'll probably make more sense as I continue on. So, description, please fill this out for your students. This form has a max of 6 students. If you need more, please fill out another form with any additional students. Man, at least I'm consistent. Students. All right. So now I'm going to push the plus, which is add question, and this is going to be student first name, and short answer required, student last name. Let's do grade level, and I would like it to be a multiple choice, just so that I can tell kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, and we'll do 6th grade. This way, it's always in the same format, rather than you might get like first grade spelled out, you might get first, you might get a 1. This just makes it so all of the questions will be one of these. It's when possible, having it be validated like this is best. Let's do one for like, say, transportation. Does this student need bus transportation? And you could just do yes or no, and you could add more, stuff like what's the address. I'm just going to say yes, we would like busing. No, we will drop off and pick up. So again, there might be the case where, yes, we'd like to drop them off, but then bus afterwards, or, there's more situations just that. But for this example, it's all or nothing. Let's do t-shirt sizes, and we'll do multiple choice again. Youth small, youth medium, youth large, adult small, adult medium, adult large, XL. We'll call it there. And I guess delete that one too. We'll do one more thing. Short answer will be required. Let's just say allergies. If none, allergies. If none, type NA for not applicable. And we'll just have it be short answer. You might get some different stuff other than NA, but this will at least just help. And having it required means I'll have to put something. And then the last one, which is important, is add another student. Now in this, we want it to be a multiple choice. Option 1 is yes, add another student, or no, I am done adding students. go to Submit Form tab. Just from after this, it'll kind of have like a, you want to submit it, yes or no. So just, I think having that is helpful because otherwise it looks like you submit it, but you actually don't. So this is for one student. As I was saying, we're just going to duplicate this section. Earlier, I was saying I just had student 1 at the top here, and all of this wording doesn't need to change. Again, if you wanted to, you could have like student 1 first name, student 1 last name, student 1 grade level. That's just a lot more that you have to edit throughout the form. As you duplicate it, again, it's up to you. But I'm just going to have it like this. I am going to say here, go to section based off of answer. So if they say yes, add another student, go to the next section, which will be the next student. And then no, I am done adding students will be submit form. So this means that after they answer this question, it'll either go yes, continue to the next section, or no, submit form. Once we have that, now we're going to go to student 1 and duplicate it. So student 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. As mentioned, you can go up more. That just seems typically the 6 is, I think, plenty enough. So student 2, student 3, student 4, student 5, student 5. Did I miss one? What I like to do is I go like continue next section. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, what about this one? Oh, I don't know how I missed that. That's funny. Anyway, what I was doing there is just when you continue to sections, you can see, okay, now it's in order. Those are all the ones, and then submit form. Now for the last one here, and I'm just going to double check, student 6, yep, you don't need this add another student because they can't add another student. So now we have this done. I do recommend as you go through this, double check to make sure all of those work. I typically go through and test it out by like being a family of 6 and then a family of 5 and then a family of 4, of 3, of 2, of 1, just to make sure that when they push no submit, that it works for all of them. Again, it should, but it's always good to just check for all of those instances. So I'm going to preview it and I'll go ahead and go through this as a family of, I'll probably do 6. If you might get a little boring for you, but again, might be helpful. So let's start with fruit email at realfruit.com. So clearly not an email, but it'll let you go fast, as I said. Papa fruit. Let's do something like really nice aisle at grocery store, and then US 11111. For sure not real, but you get it. So here, this is where I was saying, like, let's say you do something like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I have those special ones next. It'll give you that error message that we put. So you do have to remove those. And that'll still not work. That'll work though. You can also go back and let's say like I did 9, it has to be 10. If I do 11, it has to be 10. So again, nice to get, as long as that makes sense in your area and your numbers, it's nice. So apple, fruit. And tip here, I usually try to go like A, B, C, D, E, F when I'm going through, because then I'll know what I'm talking about. And then like this is student 1 is A, and then 2 is B, etc. And I'm just going to kind of, yes, add a student. Let's see, NA. B, banana, fruit. So that's a fruit, yeah. Second. No, we'll do drop off. Medium. Let's do apples. So that's funny, right? Add another student. C. What could be C? Oh, cherry. Fruit. Their grade. Yes, and we'll say the same. And then NA. Yes, add another student. Student first name. CD would be dates. I think is a fruit. Don't judge me on my fruit abilities. You know, there's some interesting stuff going on in this fruit family. Lots of allergies. Gotta stay away, you know. Elderberry? I think that's a thing, right? Although that would have been better as like the eldest fruit. I guess just for fun, we'll have some with the same group, just so we can kind of see that, like the grades. I forget what I did there. Let's do adult large, and then NA again. Well, we can do no just to see, get some of that like not ideal data. And then F, fig, fruit. If that's one, we'll see. Second grade again. Yes, busing. Medium, allergies, NA. And then submit. And then this will be like, thanks for filling it out. Please check your junk and spam, as we said it wanted to do. I'll do one more, and it'll just be one, just to see if it works as we want. Papa Pearson at peerid.com. Why not? Papa Pearson. Address 101 Pear Lane in Paris, US. It's 22222. And this is again where like addresses can get a little messed up. 222-323-4444. But you know, hopefully your data is better, or you can again kind of have those each be their own form. Pear Junior, Pearson, second grade. I feel like I have a lot of second grade right now. Allergies, apples. And then I just want to make sure the no I'm done should go to the submit form tab, which again here, this is the tab. Really, it would have been nice if it just submit, but like a copy of your response will be emailed, submit, and then we get this. I'm just back at the preview is what we were using to fill it out. Here's where the questions are. Responses, you can see the parent guardians with their names. They happen to be Papa both, but then the last names are different, their addresses. So you get some good information here. But again, it's like the grade levels. This is only 2 grade levels because this is for student 1. And then same here, it's 100% our second grade for student 2. And we're wanting to see what is the grade level for all of the responses, or busing for all of the responses. So what the next step will be is to link to sheet. So here, I'm gonna have this be, there we go, family summer camp application. I just clicked here. It'll just pull whatever this title is when you do that, just because I'd like the sheet to be named that. So there we go. So create a new spreadsheet, and it's just gonna be the title that you have, and then in parentheses, responses. So create. It'll open up, and here we go. So this is the form, and we have the 2 responses that I just filled out with a timestamp, and then the email, all of that first student information, and then here's the second student, which again, this is where it's useful to have this information, but that's a lot of columns to have to copy and paste or do something with in order to actually tell, like, how many second graders are there? Like, they're all kind of in different spots. So now, as I was mentioning, I'm going to put a few more. So hopefully your screen, it'll just be like magic, and then some more, few more responses are here. Like I was saying earlier, you could just like copy and paste it from mine if you want to look in the links. Otherwise, you can do that and have some different testing ones, or just follow along. But anyway, I'm going to just fill this out a couple more times. All right, so I just got more data added into this. And so, this is just a few. And as you get more and more, I'm sure you'll have much more in your instances. But this is enough to be able to check and make sure that all of the forms are working properly, which in my case was. And then also just be able to make sure, like, is this formatted as we expect? So the next thing that we need to do, and I will say right here what I'm about to do, which is taking notes, is not ideal for the form response tab. Generally, you just don't mess with it at all. So you don't write in it, you don't do anything there for the most part. That said, I'm just going to make it so that I know what's going on where and what columns are what. So what I mean by that is I want the parent and guardian information. I want student 1, student 2, and I should be able to bring this down to 6. Yep. So all that I'm doing is I'm just looking at the columns to see, and then I'm going to remove this. So again, don't write in the form responses, except for in this example here for the notes, just make sure you delete it. So A, B, C, D, E, F, and then not G, because that's student first name, that's going to be the parent guardian. So those are columns A through F. Student 1 starts at G and then goes to right here, the add another student. Now we actually don't need that, so I'm going to stop at L. So it's G through L, enter, and that's student 1. While we do this, I'm going to go ahead and just color code it, similar to what I've been doing with, if you've followed from the start, like right here is student 1, so I'm going to make it like a red. One extra thing, you don't have to do this, but I'm just going to go ahead and highlight this row. I'm going to do format conditional formatting. I'm going to copy this, add another student. If the text is exactly add another student, I'm just going to make it this kind of, oops, highlight this dark like that, kind of this dark red, just so that it's a little easier to see, like, okay, this second student is N through S, because then that just helps. So this is N through S, make it orange, N through S, and then U through Z. And again, you don't have to do the coloring, but helps U through Z. Enter AB through AG. AB through AG. A couple more and then we'll be good. AI through AN. AI through AN. And then the last one is going to be AP through AU. And as mentioned, since we didn't do an add another student there, there's not that last one, and that's okay. So AP through AU. So this is going to be the columns we're going to work with, and we're going to basically have parent guardians and then all the students that are, on there. So I'm just going to call this like data formatting. And then I'm going to have this just be a header row and then have this. So I'm just going to paste this over here so we can see. And this is going to kind of be the main meat of this change. So there's a couple of things we are going to do. We're going to have an array formula, and this essentially takes something that's not an array and turns it into an array. So you do need those, as I call them, squiggly brackets, because that's going to show what the references are. And basically how this works is that if you have a comma going between two things, like A2, A3, enter. Oops. Oh, because this is A2. Okay, so let's do B2, B3. But that's not helpful because we can't see it. So M2, M3. you can see that the commas are going to bring it down. And then if you use a bracket, or the semicolon, I don't know why I called it bracket, N2, comma, N3, then you can see it actually makes a new row and then goes from there. So this wasn't an array, and it wasn't in this format, and then it switches. So basically the comma means more columns, and then the semicolon means make a new row. So it's kind of like a page break. So that's the super basics of array formula. We're going to be using it a lot more intensively than that, but that's helpful to at least know that's how it works. The other thing we're going to do is a query function, and this is solely going to be for us to basically have the data turned into, or just filtered based off of it's not null, or it's not blanks. But we'll get there in a little bit. I'm just going to add that there. So basically we just have array formula and query. In these brackets, this is going to be the data of the query, and this is going to be where we need the parent guardian information and then the student information. So as we saw in form response 1, it's going to be AF for the parent guardian information. So you can do form responses 1, exclamation point, and then it's going to be A2. We're going to just start with the data, so the second row, to F. Then that's going to be our first part to it. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this down. We know that there's going to be, oops, can't undo, paste, 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 and then to make a line break, it's Command or Control and then Enter. So this is going to be the first part of it, and the second part is going to be the form and response, and I'm just going to copy this, and then you're going to do the first student, so that's G2L. And then you need the semicolon in order to go to the next, because this is going to be the next row if it has, another student, student 2. So I'm just going to paste these in because it makes it a little bit easier to not have to write form responses. And all we're going to do is we're going to update it. Now this is student 2, so that's going to be N and then S. And it doesn't have to be capital, but generally speaking, it is capitalized. So I'm just doing it A, B through AG, AI through AN, and then AP through AU. And this last one you actually don't need because we don't have anything more that's going. So, because again, this is saying, okay, make a new row, and then this is the last row, basically. So this is going to be our array formula. And in the sense of the query, it's going to be the data. So this is the query. Now we're going to do the select statement. So select all where, and this is where you want it to be a column. I know sometimes if you've used the query function, you can say select A, or where A, which is signaling the A column. But because this is an array formula and we're switching all of them up, you can't say A, because A doesn't really exist now because you're using a bunch of different ones. Similarly, this one, it's going to be G and N, N, U, and AB. So then you have to switch to saying column 1, column 2, and so on and so forth. And I'm going to show you what we want it to be, and then I'll kind of show you some different things that might happen. So we want to say where these columns here are not null, because we want to make sure that we have only the families with student information in it. Some of the families, if it's just student 1, you're just going to have information here, and then these are going to be blank, these are going to be blank, and so on. So basically you have to count A is 1, B 2, C 3, D 4, E 5, F is 6. So now we need 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 or 11, I think. But anyway, 8 will work. So column 8 is not null. And then we want to order by
A. And I just did that. Column 1, not A. And that's just saying the date stamp is what we're going to order it by. Then comma, and then this last one is going to be for the how many rows or how many header rows are there, and there's 0 because we're starting with the data. So enter, and because there's, what is it? Expected 1 argument but got 3. I think it's because, yeah, I put this wrong. So this was ending the query where it should be over here actually. Enter, there we go. Now, again, this is how we want it to be. So as I was kind of mentioning with the test data, it's nice to go A, B, C, D, E, F to make sure that it works. But this first family right here, and all the timestamp is the same, is in the order that we wanted it to be in. And then here, this one just was this one right here had 1 family only, and that's it. So it stopped. And then here's one with 5, and then 4, and that's just how I did it, 3, 2, 1. But it looks like it's working properly. So as I mentioned, I'm going to switch this where. So we're going to switch it to column 1 is not null, and it's going to kind of change it. What's happening is it's doing all 6 rows regardless of if there is information in it or not. So basically this is family 1, and there's going to be 6 rows. And then family 2 has 6 rows, but it only has 1 student. Same for this one. This is family 3, and it had 5 students, so it has this empty row, and so on and so forth. And so that's not what we want. We want to only show the ones that have them. So that's where this was column 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, or 13. Those are the ones that you want to say where column 13 is not null, or 8. Doesn't make a difference. Oop, maybe it does. Oh, I miscounted. 12. So up to 12 in this example. Sorry, counting. We have this formatted in the way that we want. We don't need this anymore, so I'm just going to erase it. And another thing you can choose to do if you want, you don't have to, but you could actually label these things as like student 1 or student 2. And how you could do that is you could put in if error, and then we'll want form and response, and we'll just do A to A, and then we're going to divide it by 0. So it's a date, so this is going to always come out as an error. So if it is an error, we're going to put this value, and this value is going to be student 1. And then close it off. And I'm just going to copy this part because it's going to be the same for all of them. There should be the comma, and then that should be in there because then it'll switch to the next row, except for the last one. And I'm just going to switch it from student 1 to 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Enter. And now we have this student number, and you can just tell, like, this is going to be a family starting with student 1. This is a family of just 1 student. This one just has, or this one has 5 students, and so on. And that might even help a little bit more what I was trying to explain with this where, because you can see here, all the way to 6, this one is missing 5 of the instances. So maybe that helps a little bit on what I was attempting to say right before this. So I'm just going to go back to 8. We might as well take the timestamp up to allergies to make a header row. And then if you want, this could be like the student or the fan. Yeah, we'll just do student num. Might be better like survey student number because, usually there's like a student ID. But again, up to you. And one option that could be helpful with this is you could actually highlight all this and add a conditional formatting. It's going to be custom formatting. We'll just copy student 1, and it's going to be equal. You want the $, M equals, and then student 1. So basically you're saying if M1, because I started the range here on A. It's not that the M is going to be there, but if you do it on 2, then you just have to make sure that you're starting on the same one that the range is starting on. So 2 and 2 match, or 3 and 3 match. Although if you do that, then it's not going to apply to that range. So in any case, just make sure that those match and have it where you start the data. And I'm going to go ahead and make this kind of like a darker green. Actually, this should be light. This will be a darker green. Add another rule, and I'm just going to say that this does not equal nothing. And then I'm going to make this a lighter green, something like that. And again, you don't have to do this, but this kind of helps to give like, okay, each one of these darker rows is the start of a new family. So again, it's up to you if you want to do it that way and kind of have this visual representation of the data, or if you want something else. You can not have it, or you can do something entirely different. So that's dependent on the student number. And again, it's something that is helpful for certain cases, but might not be for everyone. So next part, this is really the meat of what we're doing here, but I wanted to show a few different options that you can do, like making pivot tables or graphs or things like that, to take this information and make it into something that's readable for specific examples of like the grade level or the t-shirt sizes or, things like that. This might be enough for you, and you might understand how to, make pivot tables or use this data now that it's in this nicer format of all the student first name, all the student last names, all the student grade levels in those particular specific columns. But if you want, you might as well see a couple of options you could do too here. Let's add another tab. And let's start off with just inserting a pivot table. Now you can always start with that before. We'll go ahead and do data formatting, and I'm just going to put the entire there existing, just so that we have more room for, additional, forms responses. So if you've not used a pivot table before, we're not going to go too much into how to use it, but basically here I'm looking at, let's make a shirt table, for example. So probably having rows being grade levels, and it might be helpful to have the student first name and last name in the rows. That way you can look at like, okay, here's first grade, here are the names of the student, and then we'll have the values for the t-shirt sizes. Now, I'm going to do to not show the totals for those. Repeat those labels just so we have that. T-shirt sizes here. And we'll need the values to be, we'll just do count of t-shirt sizes. Now, filters. Let's do a filter on grade level. And then just by the condition is not empty, because that'll remove that one right there that we don't want. I'm going to close out of the pivot table editor so we can see. Now we can look and have, here's the adult large, and you can kind of close these off too if you want for the grades. And then you can see like first grade has these and a grand total if you want. I might actually remove the grand totals of the columns, just in the sense that, here's all the grade levels shown. I don't necessarily want, there might be another t-shirt size. And so here, I might move this over. So these would be the rows that we want to insert a chart. And then you can have something like this. So it'll show the grade levels, and then, the colors are the different. So it's a column chart. You might want it to be stacked, and then, it's a similar format, but, a little different. And you can change the colors to make it a little bit more, helpful to see those. I like to add, series. There we go. Data labels, just to show the numbers. And then, of course, like this is second grade.
So the adult large, XL, and so on. And you could also add it over here and then sort it. So like the youth and then the adult are a little, because this is kind of random, although it looks like it's like the small to large. So, because this one, all it's doing is alphabetical. So A, adult, and then L, and then XL, and then youth, L, M, S, essentially, is how is this is going. So, you know, you make it better if you really want to in that sense, but t-shirts, it does give an accurate count, especially for the grand total that whoever is ordering these shirts knows 2 adult large, 2 of these, 12 youth mediums, and so on. So fairly helpful. Next, let's go ahead and just do like a grades tab. And for this one, we'll want the grades, we'll want the names, and then maybe an email address if, we, for example, need those for whatever. And might as well just insert another pivot table. Let's pick the range. We'll do that same one. Create. Oh, and I just said create a different one, so we'll just call this grades pivot. And then you might want it'll honestly be pretty similar, like grade level, and then student first name, last name, maybe parent, guardian. Let's say, did we get any? I thought we got emails. Email address, yeah. Don't want to show totals. Repeat. And then let's do that same filter. So we'll go to grade level. And then condition is not empty. There we go. And so now we have those. Although we do actually want show totals. I guess we'll need like a count. So let's do values. Really all these are going to be the same. So we'll just do the count over here. So now you can see there's those, and it's not as useful like when you open this up because it's going to be, one of each name, unless there happens to be a duplicate, then I guess that could be there. But there you can at least give, like here's second grade, here are those, and you might even want to, if you switch these, then you'll have the first names or the last names first and then first. Up to you. I think that's a little bit more readable like this. We'll want to repeat rows just to have the second grade. And then, if you want to, you can make a graph with this too to just show the count of how many. Maybe we'll do let's put a graph, And again, this is very similar. If nothing else, this is like even more basic than the t-shirts. So, it's up to you there. Let's do an allergy tab. And this one will use the query function. So this uses SQL. We'll go ahead and just query the whole M through A. We'll have the headers. And we can say something like select. Let's say that we want, I don't know, the first name. So G, H, I. Maybe we need the E, F, which is the parent guardian information. Oh, wait, no, it'll be B, F. So just like contact information. And then we'll want L. And then let's do a where L is not null and not L is like. Actually, you don't need is, you just do not L like NA. And then 1 for the header. There we go. So essentially what this does is it removes any of these that is NA. Now, sometimes, like let's say this one is no. So it's like, we didn't specify, we did ask to do NA, but anyone could say no or something like that. So the where L is not null, we'll want to keep always, but then the and not like this, you might have to do another and not L like no. And then that'll remove those. So now we just have these allergies. You can also choose, if you want, order by L. And then that way you can see like, oh, okay, there are 2 people who are allergic to apples. Here's some that are bananas, and so on. And, maybe you want to start by order by, I, and then L. So 2nd graders, and then have those 4th grade, 5th grade, so on. And then, you have your email address, you have the parent guardian phone number. And so in this, you might also, maybe want to create a little bit better format of this. You can go to numbers. You might have to do a custom. I have a custom here. I'll just kind of do it again. Custom number format. So if you want it like the standard, you can do number, space, number, dash, number, and apply. And that'll just put it in that format. Again, you can have different formats. You might remove the space there. You might not want it with the parentheses, but that's kind of where having it just as that would help. Kind of do this to format it. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then that way we have the allergies tab, so you can help. Now, this very last one is, again, kind of extra, but might be useful. So what I have here is, let's say that you have a SIS data, and I just made this as basically how ours is. So it has the first name, the last name, has a student ID, and then a grade. I did update the grade in it to, basically do an if statement where if it's KS, make it a 0. This is especially useful for, if you're using query, for example, you would need it to have all of it in number format or all of it in text, essentially. So it's just better to have it all in one type of file. But essentially what this could do is, if you have data of current students, then you could actually do a lookup to see, is this student actually rostered this year? And how I do this is, let's maybe make a full, I'll just do same format, full name. Oops. What did I do? A through F. So really this could just be to E, because I'm pulling a blank row here. So full name. And then you can do concatenate first name, comma, space, last name. And then we can use this as the lookup value. So maybe we go and, we'll make one more. So we have this formatted here. So we'll just do, and I suppose you could put it in like the grades pivot here, and then look up in these right here, but then you'd have to make sure it's showing. And so I'm just going to do this. I guess we had this grades here, but we can do SIS check. Just delete this extra sheet. Okay. And then let's start with a query. We might as well just copy what we've already done here. Copy. So this is a query, except for we just want it is not null. And let's say order by grade level, which is I, and then H, which is the last name. So grades, then there. And really we don't need these ones, but you can of course have it. So then now we'll do let's say full name, student, full name. And, you can have this here, enter, and then have the lookup. So X lookup, and then use this as a search key. You could also, and we might as well finish this there, and then student number. So check student num. The other thing you can do is you can just take this here, and instead of referencing that cell, just put the lookup or the concatenate in the lookup, and then you just don't need this at all. So up to you. So when you do that, you can of course see that some of these are there, and then some others are not. And it can be, with the pros and cons here, it can be helpful in the sense that, well, we know that these ones are for sure there, and then these NAs we're not 100% sure. So you might have to do some looking up, like animal track, for example. I was hungry at that time. It's animal track, nice creams. So it's with the S, and then this one does not have the S. And so if you go back here and you find where it just means that they misspelled their last name, which totally does happen. Same for some other, it might truly be that they're not here. So you can look this up, go over here. There's no fig in this fruit. So just either the family's there and they just don't exist in, like last year, like who knows, maybe it's a new enrollment, whatever. And then some just won't be on here at all, like nice creams, but these are just nice cream. So, forget the S's maybe, or maybe not. Maybe they're different families. So you'll have to be careful. Same for like this one, Pear Junior. What was that, Pearson? Oh, it's within the period on it. So that just, it has its draws too. So Junior, I think if you just put a period there, now we're getting them. So, you still, if you do something like this and have data from a student information system, you could do it and get at least some of the ones are enrolled. But again, it's limited for some. Probably the real use of this is if you can get data and have addresses, you can, kind of double check addresses. You could, again, if it's a requirement that they're enrolled, then you'd probably not want to see any of these and then have to contact them, families for whatever reason. I'm thinking that there is some other mistakes here that I made, but again, just showing that it's not perfect. It's just looking up if it's exactly as it is in the student information system, then it'll pull. If it's not, then it won't. So, take that into consideration. It might also be helpful, just thinking grades. Sometimes we get incorrect grades, and I know for a fact I just randomly put these in, so most of these are going to just be off. So I'm not even going to do that. But again, it's just, this is a way that you could reference some real data that you have, if it's actually real. Surprise, these are all fake. These are not real people. So I was hungry and made up quite a few. Again, the big meat of it, as I said, was this portion here, which is the array formula, and pulling the parent data and then each of the students and essentially stacking that data up. So it's, again, extremely helpful to be able to put pivot tables together and graphs or query on all of the data versus here you would have to basically do 6, if not more, queries and, trying to add it another or stacking it another way. Because again, looking at just these will only be the second students, and then this is the first students. So it'll just take way more time. Oh, and I forgot to delete that. That could have been bad. Yeah, if you do mess with the form responses, make sure you delete it. Otherwise, stuff can go wrong. Any case, hopefully you find this project helpful. I know this is a lot longer than I anticipated, but again, it is for a very, very useful way. I think this is something with Google Forms I've done a lot in my job, and I'm guessing, it'll help you out in a lot of different ways. So Again, thank you for watching. Hopefully this makes sense and helps. And, if there are questions, leave a comment, or if you do like it, push that little thumbs up button, or maybe subscribe if you want some more content like this. So anyway, thank you again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye now.